into account the emerging risk and key advantages, the legal definition of an unmanned maritime system is critical. Determining whether an unmanned maritime system qualifies as a ship is crucial for applying the relevant legal regime, particularly with respect to the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. UNCLOS provides extensive rules on navigation, flag state responsibilities, and dispute resolution, but does not explicitly define the term ship or vessel. This omission has led to differing interpretations whether an unmanned platform falls under the UNCLOS provisions or not. Let's make a quick look of different views. There are three main views regarding the legal definition of unmanned maritime systems. According to the first view, that accepts unmanned maritime systems as ships, it is argued that although UNCLOS frequently refers to captain, officers, or crews, the absence of any provision explicitly requiring a physical crew should be interpreted in the light of the Convention's overall objectives. Some articles of the UNCLOS assume the existence of onboard personnel, particularly for rescue obligations or for setting out the responsibilities of flag state regarding captain and crew qualifications. These concepts might be extended to remote or shore-based operators who fulfill the role of captain or navigator from a distance. For example, requiring an unmanned surface vessel to assist people in distress at sea raises practical questions. How would it embark survivors if there is no physical crew? How would an artificial intelligence system judge the seriousness of a rescue situation? Such complexities suggest that supplementary rules and guidelines are needed. However, they do not negate the possibility of unmanned vehicles are legally ship. According to the second view, that does not accept unmanned maritime systems as ship. It is argued that ships have historically served to transport people or goods. However, unmanned military vehicles are often designed for surveillance, combat, or similar missions. According to this view, an unmanned maritime system cannot benefit from UNCLOS navigation rights such as innocent passage because of coastal state security interests. Moreover, these vehicles may not enjoy sovereign immunity or state immunity traditionally granted to warships or other government vessels. According to the last view on the legal status of unmanned maritime systems, a case-by-case study is necessary under each different convention. These more nuanced positions suggest that whether or not an unmanned platform qualifies as a ship must be examined under each applicable international instrument, such as SOLAS, COLREG, and others, rather than relying on UNCLOS. Most such conventions do not insist on an onboard human element for an entity to be considered as ship. A consistent trend is emerging that unmanned maritime systems could be classified as ships, subject to certain technical and legal adjustments. To sum up this legal discussion, despite divergent opinions, the majority approach in the legal literature, and this one appears most aligned with evolving state practices, supports the classification of unmanned maritime systems as ships, provided that they meet core functional criteria. However, for this view to gain universal acceptance, states must develop consistent practices and clarify how existing provisions will be interpreted or adapted for remote or operations. I would like to discuss also warships and their status and the obligation to display emblems. A literal reading of the Article 29 of the UNCLOS highlights the requirement for an officer in command and a crew under military discipline. Advocates of this view argue that an unmanned system, especially one operated by remote control or artificial intelligence, lacks on-board human element, thereby failing to satisfy the Article 29 of the Convention. However, a growing minority asserts that the historical context of Article 29 did not anticipate modern unmanned technology. What truly matters is whether the vessel belonged to a state's armed forces, whether the vessel under the authority of a duly commissioned officer, and whether the vessel subject to military discipline. This perspective maintains that if these conditions are functionally met, then unmanned naval platform may be deemed as ship, as warship actually. United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea also stipulates that a warship must bear the external marks that distinguish it as belonging a particular state's navy. Although physically smaller or autonomous, an unmanned warship could display such marking in a manner consistent with its size and operational profile. Warships enjoy immunity. Now, I would like to discuss some practical issues, actually. Warships enjoy, as we all know, immunity from the jurisdiction of any state other than the flag state, among other privileges. Recognizing an unmanned vehicle as warship might extend these privileges. Conversely, misusing warship status for unmanned vehicles without clear insight and command structure could raise major complications concerns. In the event of a collision or environmental damage caused by an unmanned vessel, who bears responsibilities? Who will be the responsible for the pollution? Possible liable parties include remote operator, software or artificial intelligence developer, the flag state's naval command, or some combination of thereof. Under UNCLOS, the flag state must ensure the vessel complies with international standards, including safe navigation, prevention of pollution. Registering an unmanned vessel in a nation ship registry implies the flag state must adopt legal and administrative framework to cover remote or autonomous operations. Securing the data links, another subject. Communication channels and onboard artificial intelligence systems against hacking or jamming is a growing concern. States must invest in robust cybersecurity protocols from the design piece onward. Now, I would like to propose some solutions and best practices before my conclusion. Navies and international organizations like NATO or International Maritime Organization should establish standard guidelines on autonomy levels, control systems, and interoperability. A clear command hierarchy is essential for unmanned assets. Each system would have an identifiable remote captain or commanding officer with the authority to make real-time decisions. Naval academies and staff colleges must integrate curricula that cover unmanned platform operations, artificial intelligence-driven mission planning, and the relevant legal frameworks. The International Maritime Organization's Maritime Autonomous Surface Ships Initiative, MAS initiative, predominantly focuses on commercial applications. Parallel or complementary work might be needed to address military-specific concerns, particularly regarding the rules of engagement, worship immunity, and operational constraints. Mandating robust encryption, fail-safe controls, and constant monitoring of remote communication lines will be critical to ensure system reliability and mission continuity. Finally, in conclusion, unmanned maritime systems, both armed and unarmed, represents a transformative shift in naval operations. They offer expanded strategic and tactical capabilities, but also compel us to reevaluate established legal norms regarding what constitutes a ship or a warship. Turkey's experience in conceptualizing, designing, and operationalizing various armed, unmanned maritime projects demonstrates how a defense-oriented industry and forward-thinking naval strategy can converge to produce cutting-edge platforms. As technology is mature, close cooperation among navies, policymakers, and international legal bodies will be essential to develop norms that ensure safety, accountability, and seamless integration of unmanned vessels into broader defense architecture. By acknowledging the legal complexities, embracing necessary reforms, and maintaining high standards of operational and cyber integrity, we can harness the full potential of unmanned maritime technology to enhance maritime security. Thank you for your attention. I look forward to our discussion.
Thank you, Dr. Bhaskara, for these useful suggestions towards the end. I think we have time for one or two questions, sir. So please let me know when to stop. Okay. Anybody? Gentleman at back, please. Please identify yourself, and I'll request keep the question short.
Sir, I am Lieutenant Commander Fraz from Pakistan Naval Aviation. My question is addressed to this. Hello. Sir, given the varying levels of technological superiority and prowess of different nation states, how can the leading naval powers ensure that the technological advancements like AGI, autonomous vessels, and computing, etc., can become bridges for maritime cooperation rather than becoming the barriers for a deepening strategic divide?
Great. We can have one or two more questions, and then I'll request my panelists to respond. And this question I'll request Ambassador Wyckoff to address, if you can, possibly. Let's see if somebody else has a question. Okay, not yet. They're still thinking. Yeah, please, sir.
I'm Commodore Khalid. My question is, as we have been talking that we need to integrate the different datas, especially in maritime domain, and the important aspect has been come out from this discussion is the cybersecurity is the biggest challenge to overcast the future progression towards the smart ships and the unmanned ships. So don't you think we need to have some kind of collaborative or integrated framework duly incorporating the cybersecurity, AI, and the quantum, so as like in the previous cases we had the FIPS that is defining the cybersecurity and the crypto security, and moreover like the NATO standards for the STAGNEG for the communication security. So once we have a robust framework for integration of the cybersecurity, then we should be able to integrate all these technologies, and we should be able to safeguard the operations from the unintended hacking or the spoofing of the data.
Thank you, sir. Very interesting question, but who will be the cat? But I'll ask a panelist, is this question addressed to a particular panelist, sir? Anybody who wants to take lead, sir? Please, sir.
So for the first question, just My response to that would be that this unmanned technology, this is the great equalizer. The premise that this is widening, I'm not sure I necessarily agree with. We're finding the use of unmanned technologies fused with smart decision-making processes are actually becoming a less expensive methodology by which we see some maritime security and maritime information sharing becoming more affordable. My biggest concern is always information sharing across. So having that information is wonderful, but unless we have that partnered networks and those networks where countries that trust one another will share that information, that's what increases and expands the overall capability of our combined forces. So I would offer that I think that this new technology coming on board now is certainly an ability for navies with less investment in the maritime to play an oversized role or larger role in maritime security. I hope that answers your question.
Anybody who wants to address the second question? Yeah, please go ahead.
As a complementary, I think the less nations that they are really using those new technologies, it's time also to invite those nations to invest more in research, in their youth. So, because we have also tendency to give the responsibility for the ones that they are investing more on new technologies. But I think it's time also for countries, all countries, to put on the effort on their youth, on their research, on their education, on the development of their regulation, on giving the effort on their governance. So that can, at some point, both sides can meet, you know, in the middle, because you can't wait for others to do also all efforts. Of course, in terms of technology, there is some countries that they are way far from others, and best practices, or at least sharing knowledge, is also good. So to help out, to open eyes, let's say, to other nations to give more value to research and education, because it's all, I mean, the Navy or the new technologies in the Navy, it's part of an ecosystem. I mean, you can't take this sector part of the entire ecosystem in countries. So we should go to the origin, we should go to the source, invest a lot in education, in research, to come up with final results for all sectors.
Great, thank you very much. I've been asked to wind up this session because the next session has to then start on time. So my apologies for this, and apologies to others who wanted to ask questions. I had several questions, but definitely due to paucity of time, I won't. Just to addressing Commodore Khalid's question, building international norms is quite a Herculean task in this age, because technologically advanced countries, they don't want to share or restrict their developments, while the technologically dependent countries, they are asking for. I'll just give you an example. Pakistan has taken lead among, in one of the several countries who is supporting or proposing to develop AI norms. There are ongoing meetings, but there are hurdles. Then there are hurdles of non-state actors. Because in this age, a non-state actor is not about terrorists, we'd say. With commercial interests like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, they are involved in this development of these technologies. They don't want to come under any kind of restrictions or any framework. So having a framework is a very idealist thing, but I don't think so it is going to work over here. Just a couple of points that I would want to make. Admiral Wyckoff mentioned about the combination of cyber and AI. Yes, it can it can have its own dividends, but it can at the same time could be very deadly. You are combining cyber with AI and taking the humans outside the decision-making loop. In military weapon systems, it could be very, very dangerous. There was a question about we need to develop own AI system. This is very interesting, because whatever we have learned or we are talking about, These AI algorithms are being developed by developed countries, the technologically advanced countries. Even we start working on AI systems, as long as you do not have your indigenous AI algorithms, probably your AI systems would have the bias, because these would be imported from other sources. So that's one important point that came up, that if we want to work on AI system, we should have our own indigenous AI systems for the future. Just concluding thoughts, we all, today's dialogue, we understood how important it is to talk more about maritime security in an increasingly interdependent world, where not only state, but non-state actors also have stakes in it. And there is a great value in sharing each other's best practices, learning from each other. And I think Oman dialogue is one wonderful opportunity that Pakistan Navy provides to other navies as well, to share their best practices and learn from each other. And I hope this will continue, and other navies would also emulate this example. Thank you very much. A round of applause for, I have another notification.
This concludes
Thank
the
you.
session 6 of Aman Dialogue. Ladies and gentlemen, our worthy guests are requested to be seated. The chief guest of the closing session will join us soon. After the end of closing session, dignitaries that have been informed about the group photograph are to proceed towards the kite block, which is on the right side after exit from the door on the right. The guests are requested to remain seated. The chief guest of the closing session will join us soon. I may remind the worthy guests